I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody so that we have a clean recording. Welcome everyone to our AP Lunch and Learn. We appreciate you being here with us during your lunch break. So as with previous AP Procurement Lunch and Learn, the recording will be available for you on the procurement website under the training section. The PowerPoint along with the recording are for the previous Lunch and Learns, including this one will be posted on that website. So we have quite a bit of information to go through with you all today. Feel free to unmute your line, ask questions, or go ahead and type a question in the chat, and Ryan and I will monitor the chat and address accordingly. All right, so let's get started with introductions for a lot of new faces. So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. For those who do not know me, my name is Maria Hernandez. I am the Director of Procurement and Contracts, and I oversee our purchasing and contracting activities, as well as our facilities leasing and scheduling functions for our campus. Pass it on to Ryan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Heredia. I am the Director of Accounting Services and the Controller here at CSUDH. I oversee general accounting as well as student financial services.
Thank you. Okay, so this is our agenda for today. We are, as with all prior AP Procurement Lunch and Learns, we always start with the purpose. As we get new folks joining us, I want everybody to know why we are holding this AP Procurement Lunch and Learns. What's the purpose? Ryan is going to cover travel policy changes, as well as meals and incidentals and how to handle that moving forward. I will be covering P-card policy updates that took effect January 1st, upcoming policy guideline changes or additions to our process for electric vehicles, primarily golf carts. I will review the independent contractor process. I am not going to go step by step on how to request an independent contractor review. I'm going to introduce it. We do have training upcoming for Friday, so please go ahead and register for that, but I will provide more information on that in further slides. We will be covering future Lunch and Learns. We have one more in April for the fiscal year, and then we will schedule additional in the new fiscal year. And then we will share with you important resources and then open it up for questions. But please, during the presentation, please feel free to unmute your line, ask a question, raise your hand, or just type it in the chat, and then we will address them as we can. All right, next slide. Great. So the purpose of these Lunch and Learns is to create a forum to share important information for accounting and procurement. We want to foster a culture of learning. We want to learn from each other. We want this to be an opportunity for us to share information, but also to gain new insight or new information from you all. We want to collaborate and learn from each other. And if there are any suggestions, any ideas, any process improvement that you would like to discuss with us or suggest, we're happy to discuss and always looking for ways that we can improve our processes, create efficiencies. So these AP Lunch and Learns are not just to share policies and procedures, but also to gather your feedback. We did get feedback from the prior Lunch and Learns. We heard you. We know what you want us to cover. We have a lot of information to share with you. So for this specific Lunch and Learn, we already covered the agenda. We know you want us to cover Toro Auxiliary Partners processes, procedures, policy, hospitality for stateside, but there are still some items that we're working on before we can present that information to you. But please do continue to provide feedback on these AP Lunch and Learn so that we can prepare material for you all that you're interested in learning. So thank you. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and he's going to cover travel policy.
All right, so I'm just gonna go over a few updates. The CO did update our travel policy beginning January 1st, 2024. So these are updates to our meals and incidental expenses, and we're moving towards a per diem for that. And that's effective again, beginning this calendar year. So all employees who travel and submit expense reports within Concur or paper, as well as non-employee travelers, are impacted by the per diem. So if you are traveling as part of group travel, right, that's, you know, athletics with students or faculty and staff with students, you know, you're gonna have no kind of changes experienced there. And as we go through this, you know, we just want to note that international travel, along with travel to Alaska, Hawaii, and the US, we're already utilizing the per diem. And starting now, we're going to use the per diem for all domestic locations, but only for meals and incidental expenses. All right, so lodging is still at the $275 a night, along with any restrictions that, you know, the departments might put on or colleges in your specific area. So high level, just to know, so if you do need help processing travel, we are still continuing in-person Concur trainings. They're bi-monthly, and there are, you know, going through the end of June, so the end of this fiscal year. Our schedule is posted on our website. And if you also need any help just with general questions or anything like that, you can always email concurtravel@csudh.edu. So one of the changes that came about with this per diem, it does create a little more work on the Concur end. And one thing that we've noticed, and even other campuses have reported, is there's a recommendation for kind of the quickest and easiest preparation for expense reports. And that would be book everything in Concur and pay for meals out of pocket rather than using a travel card. And so the reason for that is because there's just a few more steps when using the travel card. But it's not impossible and it's not hard, but it's just a few more steps. So if you want to go the quickest and fastest route, that would be the way to go. But of course, you know, there's still, you know, the travel card, you can still use it for anything. There's just a few more steps, and we'll kind of go over that briefly. So I will now, we can go to the next slide. Perfect. So over here, so these are kind of just high level what these changes are in Concur. So travelers submitting an expense report will process travel meals in the following ways. So for employees, if you have paper travel prior to January 1st, there's no change, right? Go through the paper process, submit everything. But if you have Concur travel prior to January 1st, you're going to select the expense type for meals prior to January 1st. So there is this meals domestic travel prior to January 1st. You want to make sure that you're using that so it doesn't start to go into the realm of the per diem. So make sure you're designating that when you're doing any kind of expense report prior to January 1st. Travel on or after January 1st, there are some instructions over here under adding expenses to the report, which I'll show in just a minute. And then when we go to non-employee travel prior to January 1st, there is no change. And travel on or after January 1st, we need to use this new travel claim worksheet. And there's a link to that form over there. And if you need any assistance, again, you can reach out to concurtravel@csudh.edu. So now I'm briefly going to just quickly share my screen so I can go over where we can kind of find some of that information. So over here, on our Concur website, so I'll go back a step, and if we're at csudh.edu, over here in the search bar, if we start typing Concur, it'll take you over to here to our Concur main website. Up here, you'll see this is those in-person trainings, so it's scheduled out. We're going to host them through the end of June. So this will update as we go along, based on the availability of our computer lab. So encourage anyone to please come in and drop into these. And as we scroll down to the bottom here, into our training materials, the section for that new per diem can be found under travel requests, expense reports, and in both areas, right? Either for travelers or rangers, under the expense report section, you can find the same information. So under travel requests here, you'll see as you scroll down the page, there's a section here for meals, and it kind of goes over adding meals and incidentals per diem. This box will pop up here based on your location. When you hit save, it'll automatically calculate what your per diem amount is for your trip. It's based on the amount of dates that you're going and your location, it will give you an amount. And if your department is limiting your coverage of meals, so some departments I know, they go, okay, you only get $1,000 for meals, go ahead and use this field to reduce out that total to make sure that you're staying within your department's limits. All right. So that is on the request side. That's where you can find some information there. And on the expense report side, over here, as you scroll down to adding expenses to the report, you'll see over here, there is a section for meals. And this is where now, because of that per diem, there's this new itinerary feature that we have to use in Concur. And so basically, if we book everything through Concur, which we advise everyone to do, not only do you get our predetermined rates, right? Our flights are paid for by the campus, and this itinerary will be built for you automatically. So it's less manual work. So you'll see here, if you booked in Concur, you can import your itinerary. If you booked outside of Concur, you have to go over to step 5 and start manually building your itinerary. It's like I said, it's not that hard. It's not that difficult. It's just a few extra steps. And so if you booked outside of Concur, you can see here, you start to just bring in the rows and the lines of everything. Number 8 is a very important area here where it starts to bring in the different per diem totals as you add your different meals. And then lastly, you'll see a summary of everything. And then over here, you'll see what I was talking about, where if you use the travel card, you'll have to proceed to step 12 and complete a few other things, because you're going to have expenses kind of basically manually being added to your itinerary that technically you didn't pay out of pocket for. So you have to come in and start to add the travel card expenses, ultimately reducing the amount that you're going to be reimbursed for. All right. And so that kind of walks you through how to do that. All right. And so that is all I have there. So if you want, Andrea, you can bring up that slideshow, and then I'm opening up to any questions briefly before Maria gets on with her part. I see no hands raised. I see nothing in the chat. So I think you're good to go, Maria.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Well, if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach Ryan after our call. Okay, so I will be covering P-card policy updates that took effect January 1st. Before the break, I sent out an email detailing the changes on the P-card policy, as well as provide you all with an updated copy of the policy that is also available on our website. Before I jump into the changes, I do want to let you all know that there is going to be one minor revision on the authorized purchase section of the policy. We received an email inquiry requesting clarification on the use of the travel card versus P-card for conference registration. So that authorized section will be updated to add a word, virtual conference registration, to the authorized list. So whenever there is an online training, webinar, conference registration, P-card is still authorized. Whenever the employee is going to be traveling to attend a conference or a training, then the travel card needs to be used. I just want to make that distinction, and we will revise that after our call. We're going to add the word virtual in front of conference registration to avoid any confusion. Okay. As I go through this, please feel free to type in the chat, ask questions, or unmute yourself. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with the changes. The conflict of interest section of the policy was revised to add an annual requirement to submit, a one-time requirement to submit the conflict of interest form upon request of a new P card instead of requesting that annually. So that has been changed from annually to one time. The home delivery section of the policy has been updated. When an individual is authorized to work remotely, we do authorize home deliveries. That is only to be done through our preferred contracted vendor, Staples. We cannot use CSU Buy to make purchases for items that are going to be delivered to the home. CSU Buy will not let you change the address to make deliveries to your home address. So there is instructions in the P-card policy that link you to our website that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to request an online access through Staples to place orders for home delivery. If you have any questions on that, just visit our website and you can review the home delivery policy. Next item is personal purchases. If cardholders are going to be making purchase, an error by mistake, sometimes you pull out your P card thinking it's your personal card. When a cardholder uses their P card to make personal purchases, they will be required to reimburse the campus using your personal funds. This needs to happen within the same reconciliation period. That is the change to the policy, is within the same reconciliation period. The cardholder will need to go to cashiers, complete the deposit transmittal form, and return and deposit those funds in the same account as your P card reconciliation chart fill account. Another change, important notice here to the policy, if you do not take care of this during the same reporting period, there will be a recurring monthly infraction on your account until the reimbursement is completed. So please take note, if you keep getting an infraction, for a personal purchase, it's because it has not been reimbursed. Next change is relating to policy infractions. There has been significant changes to this section. So please take the time to review the manual, the policy, the P card policy that we posted and have sent to you all so that you don't get a policy infraction. New addition to the policy, cardholders will now be provided with a 5-day grace period. You will have 5 days to submit any missing information, any missing documentation to the accounting office who conducts the P card audit on a monthly basis. If you submit this information within that 5-day grace period, we will not issue an infraction. However, there are situations, purchases, transactions that will result in an automatic infraction, and I will go over these now. Non-adherence to the P card policy without prior approval from the director or the P card administrator will result in a policy infraction. If you just completely missed your reconciliation submittal, you did not submit it at all, that will be a policy infraction, a P card infraction. Your card will be temporarily suspended until the reconciliation packet is received. So please take note of that. If you are missing documentation, if you are missing approvals, if there's backup that's missing from your reconciliation, you have a 5-day grace period to submit it. But if you completely just did not submit it, you will receive a policy infraction. If your approver is not available to sign your P card reconciliation, you can sign it and submit it to P card Recon at CSUDH without receiving a policy infraction. Once your approver returns from vacation or their leave, they can sign your packet and then you can submit a completed packet to accounting. But submitting it without your approver's signature is what we're after. We need to receive that from you with all of your backup documentation. You just submit the signature version of your packet after the return of your approver. Let's see. Purchase of a prohibited item will result in an automatic infraction, regardless of the 5 days grace period. If it's in the list of prohibited items, it is an automatic infraction. Personal purchases must be reimbursed to the campus. And again, the cardholder will continue to receive a monthly infraction until that reimbursement is completed. And if you are making an unallowed state expenditure, that must be reimbursed to the campus with auxiliary funds. The cardholder will continue to receive a monthly infraction until this reimbursement is completed. And then lastly, employee travel expenses are not allowed on P-card anymore and will result in an infraction. In the next slide, we provide employee travel expenses are not allowed on P-card, but non-employee travel expenses are still allowed on P-card. So I just want to make that distinction. Employee travel, Concur, travel card. In non-employee travel, that's still allowed on the P-card. I don't see any questions, so I will continue with the additional changes. We have expanded the authorized purchase category section of the policy to include art and paint supplies and equipment repairs under $1,000. When we talk about equipment repairs, we are talking about cameras, video recording equipment, phones, that kind of equipment that needs to be sent out via mail to the vendor or needs to be dropped off to the vendor for them to fix it. That is typically the approximate amount of those repairs are under $500, but it is not a good use of our time. We are not adding any value in processing those purchase orders. That is why we are allowing small equipment repairs under $1,000 on your P-card. Please remember, even if it's allowed on P-card, if there is a contract that needs to be signed associated with that repair, the P-card administrator still needs to receive that, approve it, sign it before you can move forward with that purchase. So we still need to review if there's terms and conditions associated with your repair. Procurement still needs to review that, negotiate terms as appropriate, and then they will return the P-card administrator will return that to you, and you can continue with your purchase. There's a comment about a misspelled viewer procurement misspell on the cover page of the policy. Oh, is it? Okay. Bossy, if you are on this call, I think you are, please make note of that so that we can make that correction. Okay, next item, restricted purchases. There have been changes also to the restricted purchases section of the policy. I'm sorry? Okay. For memberships, the grace period for memberships has been removed. That was just an item that we added when we released the revised policy in 2022. That is no longer applicable. There is no grace period, so that is removed. For memberships, our previous policy requested member data, documentation backup, that has been removed. What we are after with memberships is that your reconciliation packet include that your membership is under the university's name and address, and it has to reference your employee name. We understand, and we have been in this exact situation for our office where we purchase a membership and there is no address, there is no area where it says this is a CSU Dominguez Hills subscription or membership. So in that situation, we get it, but just let us know, work with accounting on your reconciliation packet. And for the most part, your membership should always include billing details that references the university name, address, and your employee name. That is the change to memberships. Hazardous materials, the chemical hygiene plan, there has been appropriate personnel authorized to make purchases of this nature. So please visit our policy. There is a link that will take you to the hazardous materials section and then provides you more information on this type of purchase. And there is an addition. This is an authorized purchase, but it's in the restricted section because there are steps you need to take in order to be able to charge your P-card for paper printing. So we have added authorization contingent upon following this policy for P-card use for paper printing up to $5,000. So the University Printing Services has a full service copy center. Our goal is to increase utilization of their services, which will offer the campus lower printing cost and ensure proper oversight. And what we're after here is oversight of our logo, our brand, our image, and standards. So paper printing includes posters, brochures, banners, backdrops, booklets, signage, that kind of item. University Printing Service has the capabilities of completing that work in-house or working with an off-site provider to complete your request. So prior to using your P-card, please, we are requesting that you work with UPS and by emailing University Printing Services. They will review your request. They will determine if they have the capacity to complete your request. If the request is accepted, UPS, and when I say UPS, I mean University Printing Services, will work with your department. They will provide you pricing, mock-ups. They will provide you logo approval. They will work directly with University Communications and Marketing to get that approval if UPS is going to be taking your project. And then they will bill you directly via chargeback. If UPS is unable to meet your project needs, they will notify you, and that is going to be your authorization to use an offsite printer. Please keep in mind that this is for purchases under $5,000. If the amount of your printing job exceeds $5,000, your department will need to submit a requisition to complete your request. And just as a reminder, when you use a P-card for printed materials that bear the university name, logo, seal, it still needs to be in compliance with the logo brand identity approval process that is in the P-card policy. So anything that has our logo or that identifies CSUDH, that needs to be approved. And that is completed by University Communications and Marketing. So please review the policy, get that information so that you adhere to the policy. Okay, any questions on that?
I have a question, Maria.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you need help with the design of your flyer, and you use your P-card, that's not considered using it for labor in this scenario?
It's not considered using it for what, I'm sorry?
Labor, because I know my understanding was you're never supposed to pay for anything. You're not supposed to use your Pro card for labor.
For services, yes.
For
so that's
services.
Yes, so we are adding authorization for P-card use for printing of the items that we discussed. It is a service, but we are authorizing it provided you follow our process.
Okay.
So in 2022, when we updated our policy, we keep adding categories to the P-card list. We're trying to not just provide you with the ability to make more purchases on P-card, but we are also reviewing our purchasing policies and procedures and determining what items, what requisitions do not need to go through procurement. Where are we not adding value? Where we are just going to, require a requisition for processing a PO, for processing a check, when we can just allow the use of the P card. So if it is low risk, and we have determined the items on our P card policy to be low risk, then we will add it to the P card authorized list. If there is a bit of risk, or we have some internal policies that we have to adhere to, we will add it to the restricted category in the P card policy, and then just require that P card holders follow that process before charging their P card. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is going to be new for all P card holders. We are going to be providing you access to US Bank Online. So on our website, sometime today, Bossy Lisa in our office is going to be adding step-by-step instructions on how you can request an online US Bank account access. You are going to have certain benefits for what we're trying to accomplish with you having online access is immediate access to the transactions that you are posting, ensuring that if there is a charge that you did not authorize, that we dispute it before it, so that we can resolve it before it hits your statement. We want you to keep track of your charges so that you can prepare your reconciliation statement. So by you having access early to your transactions, you don't have to wait until you get the email from accounting saying you have a certain number of days to reconcile. You can start preparing your backup for your reconciliation statement. And then you also have the ability to run reports. Maybe you want to see how much you have spent over the course of a year, 6 months. Maybe you want to see all the transactions that you have made with a specific vendor. The access to US Bank Online will provide this functionality to you. I have provided steps here on the slide on how you can register. But as I mentioned on our website, we will also include step-by-step instructions on how to do that. When you're in the step that's asking you for your account number, that's your 16-digit card number. So it's pretty user-friendly. Just follow the steps, and if you run into any issues with creating your online account, just let me know or let Kenny know, and then we can guide you through it. The steps that you see on the slide here are essentially what you're going to complete in order to create your online account. Any questions? Okay, I see. Larger husband added to P-cards. Okay, so I just got confirmation from Bossy that the online registration guide has been uploaded to the P-card resources section of the policy on our website. So please go ahead and check that out and create your account. Is this only available to cardholders? Yes, it is. You will have to be a cardholder in order to gain access. No, we do not want you to share your login credentials with, it's your account, you're responsible for it. There's not much access, or you have limited functionality. You can't create changes to your account, but my recommendation is that you do not share your login credentials. Is this information retroactive? Yes, it is. It's retroactive. And I think the system keeps about 2 or 3 full years of information. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So this is going to be new policy. We will be releasing this in the next month or so. The purpose of adding an electric vehicle purchasing policy on campus is because we have seen an increase in the purchase of electric carts. We're calling them powered cart purchases. We have, and I'm sure most of you have noticed as you walk through campus, there are a lot of golf carts that are parked everywhere, and there's not enough charging infrastructure or campus interior parking for all of these golf carts. So what we are doing now, as a result of this increase in carts and limited infrastructure, we are developing guidelines to assist the campus in purchasing vehicles moving forward. So I'm working with risk management and with facility services right now to finalize these guidelines. What we are trying to accomplish here is not just keeping inventory and track of all of the electric vehicles, but all of the vehicles in our fleet. So this is going to assist our fleet manager in determining how many electric vehicles we have and if we have too many, because as a campus, we are limited to the number of vehicles we can have on campus. The guidelines are also going to help you with the selection process, meaning we are going to be providing you vendors that we already have pre-existing contracts with that you can use in the selection of the cart. This is also going to help us with quality control in ensuring that the vehicle that you are selecting, the golf cart that you are selecting, is quality, and that the most important part, that there are parts in the event of any repairs, that the parts are easily available. And one of the items that we have ran into in the past is that when our auto shop receives a cart for repairs, there are delays in the repair because the part that they need is difficult to come by, or it's an overseas part that we have to wait for. So those are a few of the items that we are trying to address in these new guidelines. We are fine tuning it. It is nearly there. Communication to the campus will go out once the policy is fully fleshed out. Next slide. Okay. So independent contractor. So before the break, we sent out an announcement to let the campus know that we're going to be implementing ServiceNow. We are excited about this new implementation. We have been working with IT on this new initiative. This is going to provide the campus the ability to submit tickets, for a specific process. In this case, we're starting with the independent contractor process, but it's going to give you the ability to track your requests, see who's working on it, and see. And really, what we were trying to provide here is transparency with all of our processes. What we're trying to get away from is email, and you waiting for an email response from somebody. So, so this is going to be. This looks very familiar because this is what this is going to be under the IT service portal. So if you have opened a ticket with IT, it's the same process. We're going to have a section in the categories that says procurement and contracts. When you click on procurement and contracts, various processes, for right now, it's just going to be independent contractor requests, are going to show up, and it's going to allow you to submit your request and then track it as it's being processed. Right now, as I mentioned, it's just independent contractors. However, we will continue to work with IT on other processes. So essentially anything that has a form in our office is going to be, we're going to be adding it here to this portal, such as change orders, unauthorized purchases, maybe P-card request, facilities leasing and scheduling. So any process that we currently have, basically most of our processes are going to be on the ServiceNow portal, which is going to provide us the ability to create workflow. So for instance, can you go to the next slide, please? For the independent contractor process, the form that you're all used to, I think it's like 3 pages, is going to be added into the portal. It's going to provide you the ability to determine whether a requisition that you are requesting falls under the independent contractor process. It's going to ask you a series of questions, and it's going to provide us with the ability for you to submit it, for us to receive it, for us to review it, for your fiscal officer or your ARM they will get the request, they will review it, they will approve it. It will go to HR, it will go to procurement for processing, and then you will get an approval. So essentially what we're trying to get rid of is that form. So it's gonna have workflow built into it. All of the fiscal officers or the arms have already been preloaded into the system. So it'll have that ability for you to select who your arm is. They will get the information, they will review it, they will approve it. So that is the training that is happening on the 19th. You should have received a CSU Learn registration email from HR. So we're holding that training on the 19th at 10 a.m. So if you haven't already registered, please register. If you intend on processing any independent requests, that is going to go live after the training. So effective the week following the Monday, which is the 22nd, the independent contractor process is going to take effect. So please register so that you can get training on how to submit the form. No, this is not taking away the POI form, Anna. This is the independent contractor form. The purpose that it serves is to determine whether a person that we are hiring is truly an independent contractor or whether they should be processed as an employee through payroll. Okay. So, so we hope to see you there. Next slide, Andrea. Okay, so we are at the end of our slides. The next slides just provide important resources, training, links to the training material, procurement card policy, accounts payable website. And that is going to be everything that we're going to cover today. So why don't we open it up for questions?
Maria, I have just a general question. Like if somebody needs assistance in registering for their online registration for their P card, do they just send an email to procurement or who do they contact directly?
If somebody has a question on their P card registration, you mean opening the account?
Yes, like if they need assistance, just a general question like, oh, I cannot log in or I don't know how to complete the form. Do they just send a question to procurement at CSUDH or do they contact someone directly?
So for any P card related questions, then the only active email we have for P card is p-card@csudh.edu. So any P card related question, inquiry, concern, please email p-card@csudh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question on covered earlier, I think mentioning a virtual conference can be paid with P card, but if it's a non-virtual combined conference registration and membership, is that allowed on the P card?
Yes, it is. If it's a virtual combined membership.
Yes, I can ask that question, but for the case that I'm working with today is a non-virtual.
No.
Okay.
If you are going to be traveling as a result of that registration, then it's a travel expense.
Okay, thank you.
So I think just to provide a little clarity, so memberships are not travel related, right? So your memberships, if they can stand alone, then you're gonna want to go P card for that route. But if you are, registering for a conference or something like that, that you can use your travel card for. So I would recommend to make sure you keep those two separate.
Yeah, that's ideal.
Thank you.
We have had one in the past that it was both, you couldn't separate them. The membership was part of the, so it's, one-offs like that. Just check in with us.
Okay, thank you.
Christian has a question, if we can send another reminder for the IC request portal information session. Yes. So that was sent directly from Human Resources. If you type in CSU Learn into your inbox, you can see that, but I will definitely have Linda in HR send another reminder on the upcoming trainings.
I have a question.
Yes, Rosita.
I just need, I guess, a little bit of clarification on the printing part. Because you said that P-card can be used, but how is that different from chargebacks? I mean, every time I order, it just gets a chargeback. So when, I guess, will I be using a P-card for printing?
If it's under $5,000 and UPS does not have the capacity to print your job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, only if they cannot.
Exactly.
Okay, then I can go to an outside vendor and then use it for that then.
Yes, correct.
Ah, gotcha. But if it's 5 and over, then that's when I need a rec.
Correct. Yes.
Ah, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so we are a little early. I'll give you a little bit of time to finish your lunch. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please feel free to email Ryan or I directly if you have any additional questions. We will be sending a survey out after this training just so that we can collect feedback, get additional topics of interest so that we can cover in the April Lunch and Learn. Thank you so much. And this presentation will be uploaded on our website. Give us until tomorrow to upload that information. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.